On December the 6th, 2021, there was some history made in Tobago, which is the sister isle to Trinidad. We are the twin isle republic of Trinidad and Tobago. Tobago being a little smaller, they have their own form of governance in the form of the Tobago House of Assembly. It's like a local governance kind of thing with a little more power. They have some ability to govern themselves, and recently, over the last couple of years, there has been quite a bit of clamoring for even more ability to govern themselves, to be able to separate themselves even more from Trinidad and make their own decisions. There are several problems in that, but that's not what we are talking about here. Just about a year ago, on December the 6th, 2021, Tobago voted in a new party. A party that has never been in governance before in Trinidad or Tobago, and they came into governance over there in Tobago. The PDP, the Progressive Democratic Patriots, and they went in there with a mandate, a unique mandate to bring more Tobago-style governance to Tobago. Tobago shouldn't be governed by people from Trinidad or parties from Trinidad. This PDP is a Tobago party, and they intend to govern Tobago with that kind of mindset. Grand. The thing is, they won comprehensively too. They really beat the PNM out of Tobago. The PNM losing every seat but one. There was only one seat that the PNM retained over there in Tobago. The PDP taking all the rest. Now, within literally about a year, actually 1 day short of a year, that entire party that comprehensively won that election has basically disintegrated. And this development does raise a lot of very pertinent questions, because would you see it that the people of Tobago, Tobagonians, voted in this party, this group of people that would be governed by a certain mandate, by a certain set of rules, and that's the group they wanted in there under this banner? Or is it that they wanted each individual and they voted for each individual, and whether each individual crosses party lines regardless of where they go, they should still keep their position? That brings some interesting questions, not necessarily only legally, but just as a matter of what should be done politically, the right thing to do politically. And speaking of that right thing to do politically, this entire incident seemed to have been, at least the most recent part, seemed to have been triggered by some statements made online, which it seems to be most of the incidents with the PDP are triggered by. The original fallout about 3 months ago was between the deputy leader and the actual political leader over how they handle certain ruling affairs in Tobago, and that had some falling out. And then most recently, another one of the higher up members inside of the PDP, she went out there on social media and made some statements that got her into some difficulties. And the PDP leader, in his position as leader, also made some statements against what she said, and then the whole party disintegrated. Now, I don't think it was necessarily his buffing up of her, his reprimand of her, that caused that disintegration of the party, but it's interestingly timed, and I think it could be a bit of a microcosm, looking at the statement she made and then how it, may not have triggered, but how it precipitated the disintegrating of the party. To me, there are some lessons that could be learned about just party dynamics, group dynamics, and political group dynamics when we look at this. So we're going to get into some of these stories, get into the specifics. If you're interested in this kind of stuff, make sure to hit that like button. It will be much appreciated. If you are not yet subscribed, please do that right now and leave a comment. Tell me what you think. Let's dive into this. THA secretary, ease me up with the early weekend calls. THA Deputy Chief Secretary Dr. Faith by Israel has told members of the public seeking a help for non-payment of salaries not to do so at 6 a.m. or on the weekends. By Israel, who also holds the portfolio of Secretary of Health, Wellness and Social Protection, posted on Facebook on Saturday, "Folks, as much as you believe that we are magicians, I can't do anything at 6 a.m. on a Saturday morning to rectify you not getting paid from another division. In fact, I can't do anything at that moment in my division. Earlier, ease me up with the 6 a.m. calls or Saturdays, on Sundays and Saturdays, please. I'm begging. Her post included a screenshot of 4 incoming calls from 6:02 to 6:22 a.m. Israel has been condemned by members of the public and other Tobago politicians, including her Progressive Democratic Patriots political leader, Watson Duke. That statement she made there, I think I would put quite a bit of that. I'd chalk it up to her being a neophyte, being new to this thing, because it's not necessarily that the statement she's making is totally incorrect. She might be factually correct, like, okay, there may not be much that she can do at 6 a.m. on a Saturday or a Sunday. Granted, the thing is, you're a politician. Those aren't things that politicians get to see. That's just the reality of the job that you have chosen, the nature of the job description, if you will. It's a job description that has comforting the public even as part of it too. If someone is looking for their salary, they need to be paid. They're looking at you already well paid. You're comfortable in your home. You're comfortable in your position. And then they are not being paid. Yes, they will want to contact you at any time they see fit if they can get it done. And then bear in mind, you went begging these people for this job. You went walking around the entirety of that country telling them, listen, I am going to seek your interest. Well, they believed you, they put you in the position, and now they are looking for their interest to be sought. If you wanted to say things like, don't call me at 6 a.m. on a Saturday or a Sunday, maybe that should be part of your announcement when you are announcing that you are going up for election. While you're on the campaign trail, let them know, okay, yes, you should elect me, but just so you know, I'm serious about my weekend sleep. So when you do elect me, don't be calling me no early morning on a weekend. Okay, if you said so on the campaign trail, then maybe that would have been a little more sensible. But to say so now, after you came out asking for that position, could really seem a bit strange. And she was taken up on that statement. Of course she was. It's politics. PDP, PNM chastised by Israel. People need help at all hours. THA Deputy Chief Secretary Dr. Faith by Israel has advised members, we know what she said, by Israel, who also holds the portfolio of Secretary of Health, Wellness and Social Protection. And I find it interesting also, part of her portfolio is social protection. You understand that in the realm of social protection, there wouldn't be a time limit on such a thing. That's a pretty broad statement to say that you are the secretary in charge of social protection. Well, protect the society, Miss By Israel. By Israel has been condemned by members of the public and other Tobago politicians, including her PDP political leader, Watson Duke. One person commented on her post asking what was the reason for the repeated late payment of THA salaries. THA workers in several divisions have been complaining for months about this issue. The THA has laid the blame for the issue on its public servants. So the person is asking, okay, the person is saying, okay, you don't want us to message you or call you early in the morning. Well, then pay us on time. I agree with that. If you pay the people on time and they are well paid, their salary is in their bank account, then you could say, well, don't call me. But if you are not doing all the things that maybe you are supposed to be doing, you could understand why the people are calling. Another added, whoa, not everything for social media. As an elected official, this is not the way to conduct yourself. Someone else said, the calls come with the office. Don't be upset. It is what it is. One woman replied, I guess you now have a clear understanding of who in the kitchen feels the heat. Things look glamorous from outside when it was easy to point fingers at the ones who were there and highlighting their mistakes. And I agree. That was the PDP's position. The PDP spent quite some time in opposition because the party was created in 2016, I believe, and they got voted into power in 2021. All those years they spent going around Tobago, stirring up action all around Tobago, saying that they can do better. The PNM is in there and the PNM doesn't care about you. That was the main call of the PDP. This ruling PNM inside Tobago doesn't care about Tobagonians. At least not the way that we would care about you if you vote for us. Well, they voted for you. Although most people criticized by Israel's response, some people supported her. A THA official who works in her division said, pretty soon they will show up at your house to wait by the garage where you park the car, or even better, at church when it's just over to go home. But the best is when they start meeting your mother and sending messages or envelopes with numbers to call. And here's the thing. I am quite certain that if you ask certain political activists, they would say that the statement made by that THA official is a good recommendation. Okay, yes, we should turn up at your home. Yes, we should turn up outside of your church services. You came begging for this position, so if you are not doing the job right, the people who employed you in that position should be on your back to do it right. I could understand that argument. I really can. Maybe not to your parents and your family members, but to you, the person who is in the portfolio, yeah, you deserve that pressure to a good extent. In a lengthy response on his Facebook page, Duke, the leader of PDP, slammed his former deputy and called for her to apologize. He said, as humans, we are no strangers of wanting help from others outside their normal working hours. Despite our fears of not being answered, we call anyway, still holding on to a glimmer of hope that our problem can be solved or our call can be answered. And when we received an answer or a required service outside the normal hours of work, we become elated and sing praise to those who helped and the administration that responded. It might be useful to keep in mind that behind the ease me up calls are people that we pledge to represent. Think for a moment. Why did they call so early and the personal distress they might be experiencing? He said Israel should have simply responded when it was more convenient instead of making the Facebook post. And I agree. That's not something you should make a post about. You respond to the person's and the person's complaint. And maybe at some future juncture, when you have rectified the issue, while that call that you got at 6:22 a.m., you're showing them, listen, the call I got at 6:22 a.m., this person, I fixed that issue for them. But just so you know, that could not have been rectified at that point in time. My hours are XYZ, and I really attempt to do my best between my hours, yada. Whatever political statement you want to add on to that. But to make the statement ease me up on social media, that's a bad idea. If you're saying ease me up, well, then they may be easing you up when they go to vote for you too. But Miss Israel eventually came around. Israel apologizes for telling public to ease me up. THA Deputy Chief Secretary and Secretary of Health, Wellness and Social Protection, Dr. Faith Israel, has blamed a lapse of judgment for her recent outbursts on social media. Last Saturday, we know what she said. Her post included a screenshot, but in an interview with Tobago Updates on Monday, Israel expressed regret. I think at that point in time, I was a little hurt. I was also very tired and a bit frustrated. I accept the fact that doing the post, that was a lapse in judgment. And well done, Miss Israel. Congratulations for that. Being able to look back over at your own behavior and decide that was not the best way to treat with this. And as she said there, hurt, frustrated, tired. You see, I don't doubt her. But that's a lesson. Those kind of negative feelings and negative states of mind are not, those states are not the time when you want to go posting online, especially as a public official. If you know right now is an emotional time, you are annoyed, someone ticked you off, well, maybe you should hand over your social media profiles to some staff. Tell them, leave me away from social media for a while. Let's not say those things, because it's the common thought about when you're angry or when you're upset and you say something that you regret. Well, at one point in time, if you said it, then you have to go and apologize to whoever heard you say it. But now with social media, you're permanently putting this out there for the combined eyes of all of humanity for the rest of time to see. That's basically the idea of social media. You're taking that one frustrated, annoyed, tired moment and putting it there for the entirety of humanity to see for the rest of time. Are you sure that's what you want to do? Well, maybe when you're frustrated, tired, and annoyed, that's the wrong timing to be making Facebook posts. Certainly, she went on, certainly it was not what I should have done. I accept that it is something that someone in my position should not have done, regardless of how I felt about the situation, regardless of how tired I was and how disappointed I was. She explained in the post. It was actually a situation where the person who called, I am the one who helped them to get the job a month or two ago. And this was the first communication that I had with them since then. It was not a Dr. Faith, I get through, it going good, or I starting tomorrow, or anything like that. It was a 6 a.m., me ain't get paid yet. And I thought, whoa, I guess I can't do anything right. And you're seeing the difficulty of a political position. You see, if I'm an unemployed person, think about this. I'm an unemployed person. Now, just so you know, the fact that I have to go speak to a politician to get a job isn't the ideal way for things to be running. Just the admission she made there is not an ideal state of affairs. You are giving out jobs. That's kind of what you're saying there. But okay, let's bypass that for now. I am someone unemployed. I came to you. Very likely, I would have been someone who worked on the campaign trail. Very likely. That's usually how those things go. I have some sunk course inside of the PDP. I worked on behalf of the PDP for some time. I come looking for a job. You link me up with a job somewhere in some other division inside of the THE. Grand. Now, the reason I want a job is not just to help the beautiful island of Tobago. I am looking to get paid. Usually when people want a job, the payment is probably the vast majority of the reason they want the job for. So I got this job linked by a politician, and then upon a month or two of me working at the job, I cannot get paid. So who am I going to call about this? You linked me with the job. I didn't come to work for this job just for the enjoyment of working. I want money. I want my pay. Of course I'm going to contact you with it. Now, on her side, I could understand that. On her side, the human side to her is that I just helped you get this, and now you're coming to pressure, like, give me an ease up. I understand that. But you have to look at it from the other person's point of view. They are not seeing it through your eyes. They are not living your life. They are not seeing your reality. So I understand why and how she could have reached to that point, but it still isn't a viable excuse. And to be fair to her, she sees it also as not really being a viable excuse. Now, on the heels of that incident, mass resignation from PDP of Farley and team. Tobago now run by independents. Chief Secretary of the Tobago House of Assembly, Farley Augustine, has issued a press statement disclosing that he and his colleagues in the THA have taken the collective decision to resign from the Progressive Democratic Party effective December 1st, 2022. I wish to assure the people of Tobago that we remain completely focused on the business of the THA and serving the people of Tobago. I also wish to state that this transition will be seamless and swift, and I will address this matter further in due course. Attached to his statement was a letter in which all the PDP members stated that they were now independent, which is a very interesting development. All of the PDP members are now independent. Watson Duke obviously had something to say about that. Farley and friends left PDP for 30 pieces of silver. He is upset about them leaving PDP. Now, granted, a lot of us who have some knowledge about the running of the party, you could see why this would end up that way. But I think a lot of us could have seen that since 2016. Chief Secretary dismisses call for fresh elections. We represent the people. You see, in the statement made by Mr. Watson Duke there, where he spoke about his members leaving for 30 pieces of silver, he said, basically, it's good riddance. And what it means is that they must now call for fresh elections. No later than January 2023, he wants fresh elections, so maybe he has a whole new slate of PDP members he wants to send up for elections, and let's see how these older slate of PDP members would be running now. Would they run each as an independent person, or would they create a new party? That will be interesting. But the Chief Secretary is saying, no, we aren't going to do that. Fali Augustine believes there's no need for fresh Tobago House of Assembly elections. Augustine was speaking on the Tobago Updates morning show on Tuesday. Augustine and the other executive council members split with the PDP has sparked calls from the public and political rivals for a fresh mandate. Augustine dismissed those calls on Monday and said their work in the THA continues. The PDP defeated the PNM 14-1 in the December 6, 2021 THA elections. Augustine said currently in the House there are 13 independents, 1 PDP, Duke, and 1 PNM, Kelvin Morris. He said his and his colleagues' move is extremely legal, extremely constitutional. Referring to the late A.N.R. Robinson, he said when the THA Act of 1996 was being drafted, Robinson insisted it should not reflect what happens in the House of Representatives, which he said is often undemocratic. He wanted a House of elected members with just 4 appointed councillors, but he did not want a House that was run by the politics of the party. He wanted a House run by the people who are elected, so that people have more allegiance to the people who elected them than to the political party under whose umbrella they would have campaigned. And I understand that. And I agree. That has been said before, that the Tobago House of Assembly Act doesn't run in the same way that the other laws in terms that govern our parliament in Trinidad run. If someone is no longer a member of a party, that does not mean that they have to relinquish their elected role in the Tobago House. I understand that, and I could understand the political and societal reason for it, as he was pointing out there. You don't want it to be, as Mr. Duke seemed to have wanted it, that someone who is the head of the political party becomes de facto head of the Tobago House of Assembly. No, you want the elected members to answer to the people who voted for them. I understand that. But there is still a caveat to be placed in there. Let's continue with what he said. One must also appreciate the fact that on any ballot paper, there are 2 primary things that are there. One must absolutely be there, the other is optional. One, there's a party symbol, and the second, there's a name of a candidate. You vote for a candidate in every single electoral district. You may not need a party symbol because you can in fact run as an independent member, but you definitely need a candidate. And I agree. But he is pointing at the problem right there. The problem is they did not run as independents. He's saying, yes, there are 2 things on the ballot paper, the name of the candidate and the political party. And the political party is even optional. It doesn't have to be there. The most important thing is the name of that candidate. Maybe so, but you did not run on your name alone, Mr. Fali Augustine. You ran on the name of the PDP. When people voted for you, they did not vote just for Fali Augustine. They voted for Fali Augustine of the PDP. Now, maybe legally, it seems so that they wouldn't be in trouble. They wouldn't be forced to call any election. But I could understand why just in a position looking at it as a form of decency, the morality of politics, if you will, which we know is a strained thing, you could say, all right, the people that voted for me in this clothing. They voted for me in this incarnation. Do they want an independent Fali Augustine, or do they want a PDP Fali Augustine? And you could understand why someone, especially in the position of Mr. Duke and the position of the opposing PNM, would say, well, let's go find out from the public again. Let's go ask the public. Do they want an independent Fali Augustine, or do they want a PDP Fali Augustine, or do they want a PDP by itself without Fali Augustine? Or, seeing all of this confusion going on, would they prefer to go back to the PNM? And really and truly, if I were to put on my predictive hat, I would say if they go back to an election, I foresee the PNM being victorious. I feel Tobagonians might not be happy with the deal they have gotten there. And my problem with this is it could make for difficulty in all other third parties in Trinidad and Tobago. Whenever anyone else comes up with wanting to be a viable alternative to the tried and untrue usual suspects, if anyone comes up to be an alternative, people could point to the PDP and say, look, That's what happens with alternatives. They help to muddy the waters there for basically anyone else coming after them in that third party alternative political route. Now listen to this piece here. Mr. Augustine said the PDP internal rift was unanticipated. That is not something you could have foreseen a year ago. And it is the nature of the business that we are in. There are always several moving parts, and sometimes things evolve. We also must appreciate that life occurs in seasons. And the season that is the PDP is just over for most of us. Here's my problem with that statement. He said nobody could have foreseen this a year ago. And I will call that a bald-faced lie. Because you could go back a year ago, look at news articles. I may have made some videos on this, and many people were predicting this very same thing. The change of character here wasn't Mr. Watson Duke. Mr. Watson Duke is still the Mr. Watson Duke he has always been. This is the character of the man. This has always been the character of the man. How is it that you went into that position? Someone should ask you the question that, how is it you went into that position and could not have foreseen this? If you went into the position and could not have foreseen that the person who left themselves as the leader of the party and continued being the same character he always was, how could you have gone in there not understanding or not seeing the character of the man? Are you saying that you are a horrible judge of character? Are you saying you are a horrible predictor of what could happen in future scenarios, and then that does not augur well for putting yourself as the leader of Tobago? If you joined a group of people and could not foresee what the nature of the leader 1 year ago, what is to be expected about the general affairs of Tobago? How are you supposed to be able to foresee the direction of Tobago if you couldn't foresee something so obvious? That's all I have for now, though, folks. Tell me what you think. Tell me what you think about the bacchanal going on now in Tobago. What is your view on this? What is your view on the PDP? Do you stand more in the line with Mr. Duke? Yes, there should be fresh elections. Or do you stand with Mr. Farley saying we should have left? This could not have been predicted, and we will remain in power till the end. You know what might be very interesting to me? Even if they remain in power till the end, I'm interested to see what happens after all of this. All right, even if they stay till the end of their term, what do they do next? Do they create their own little party? We will see, I guess. That's all I have for now. I hope you're educated, informed, or entertained, and I will see you in the next video.